Hi, I'm Leilani Farha, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Right to Housing. I'm sorry I cannot be in Buenos Aires attending the Habitat Argentina event, but I'm very happy to offer you some thoughts through video. Let me begin with a few comments on where we are globally with respect to the right to housing. We know that there are over 1 billion people worldwide living in inadequate housing and in homelessness. We know that in most cities, affordable housing and housing with secure tenure are more dreams than reality. So what does this tell us? It tells me that governments have failed to successfully implement the right to housing. It tells me that governments are generally more concerned with protecting the interests of investors and financial institutions and property owners than they are concerned with solving one of the most egregious human rights situations globally. And what does this mean for us? For me as Special Rapporteur, whose job it is to protect and promote and help ensure the implementation of the right to housing? And what does it mean for you as social organizations, academics, and politicians? It seems to me Habitat Argentina is already doing exactly what is essential that we do. In fact, in some ways, I think that you are ahead of many others based on my exposure to what's happening around the world. You have developed a united, collaborative front, and you have come together collectively to offer a competing vision for housing and housing-related policy and law in Argentina. Your national consensus for decent habitat offers a human rights approach that I think is vital right now. Only a human rights approach or framework exposes the structural causes of housing disadvantage, the causes and perpetuation of power imbalances between those with adequate housing and those without. Only the human rights framework understands and addresses inequality. And only the human rights framework is very clear on who is accountable to whom. Each of the 10 policy areas in your national consensus touch on vital aspects of the right to housing. I was particularly interested in the provision regarding real estate profits. As some of you will know, my last report to the UN Human Rights Council was on the financialization of housing. That's where housing is treated as a commodity, not a human right, where housing is seen as a place to move and park money and a place to secure other financial instruments, and not about dwellings or places where people raise families or a place of security so that you can contribute to your community. I agree very much with the idea expressed in your national consensus that we must start using the tax system to change the way in which property investment is viewed and its function. I have heard of a number of hot housing markets using taxation to curb the tendency to overinvest in housing and inflate housing costs and property values. But these policies often lack a key ingredient, an ingredient that I see in your national consensus. In many jurisdictions, the monies that are raised by such taxation is not actually distributed back into ensuring housing affordability and accessibility for low-income and poor households. And so what you suggest is using taxation and then distributing the revenues in a way that is fair and that actually addresses housing inequality. And I applaud that. Some of you may know that in partnership with the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and United Cities Local Government, a body representing over 250,000 municipalities around the world, I have started to move forward the idea of creating a new global movement called the Shift. The aim of the Shift is to unite all of us who believe that housing is a human right, not a commodity. To unite all of us who reject forced evictions and displacement in the name of development. Something to unite all of us who know that our current housing systems are based on the interests of a few rather than the needs of the many. We want to start connecting all of the activities that are already actually happening globally under one roof, under one chapeau, to say collectively, globally, we reject dominant housing paradigms. To say there is a new way forward. There must be a new way forward. My hope is that the Shift will also pressure governments at all levels to start reimagining housing, and with that new vision, to start taking bold steps to make real change. Steps like adopting legislation and strategies that embrace housing as a human right, and that commit governments to ending homelessness by 2030, and that curb the commodification of housing. I see the work of Habitat Argentina as being key to the global movement, the Shift, and I see Habitat Argentina being a good partner for the Shift. We are still working on how to move forward this idea of a global movement. But I am hoping that in the next 2 months, I will have developed in partnership with UCLG and the Office of the High Commissioner a structure for this new initiative and a way for us to unite globally so that we can work together to change the way housing is understood and how it is dealt with by governments, politicians, financial institutions, and the private sector. I wish you the best of luck in your meeting, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.